Let's get into it. We're going to be talking about 5 tips for you to navigate the job market as a radiologic technologist. I am Chandria Singleton, your host of a couple of Rad Techs podcasts, and this conversation is going to be just that. We're going to keep it short and sweet, but we're also going to make sure you get all the nitty gritty that you need to if you're just coming out of school as a radiologic technologist, right? You need to be able to know what kind of things do I need to know to become really employed in this job market, right? So that's what I want you guys to understand is it is possible, and these are the things you want to do. Number one, you want to make sure that your resume captures the attention. First impressions mean a lot. So make sure you highlight all of your experience. Sometimes people say, well, I don't really want to talk about my school experience on my resume. Talk about it. It's very important that you share it because it is experience, whether you were getting paid for it or not. Really zhuzh up and don't lie, don't exaggerate, but just explain in your resume and your cover letter what you did as a student in your radiology technology program, all of the exams that you were experienced and comped in. Highlight if you won any awards in school, technical awards, uh, didactic awards, anything. Make sure you include that clinical experience. They want to see all your wins, and schooling counts also. You're going to also tailor that cover letter to each job by mentioning specific skills. So maybe your previous jobs, just getting out of radiology school, are not medical jobs. That's okay. Totally okay. Think about what skills did you get from that job, whether it was like me driving a FedEx truck, having no medical background. What experiences, what skills did I get from that? I was always on time with my customers. I made sure packages that were to be delivered at a certain time were delivered at a certain time. That means a lot. People that can do things according to schedule, keep things rolling according to schedule, makes the employer money. No different from a trucking industry to an actual healthcare industry. Everything runs on time, efficiency. You can really pull out those things on your previous jobs into your present, trying to get employment, into your present jobs. Now, you're also going to talk about the equipment that you used on that cover letter. So make sure while you're in school now, before you get out of school, and you don't have to go back and say, hey, what was that machine called? What was the software on that scanner called? Because you have Philips or you have GE, you have Siemens, and other types of equipment, but you have different software. So that's going to be important because each machine is going to have a new software. They're going to want to know, okay, yeah, you know how to work on a GE, but was it a GE B40 or now that we're up to K12 software? That's a huge jump. And you know, with technology, things are always changing. So make sure on your cover letter, you're also, as you're in school, don't just write down your clinical experience that you're going to turn in to get credit. Think about writing down the actual machines that you've worked on. And that's not only for your resume, that's just for you to remember. Oh, when I go on this travel job, they said we need to know how to work a Marconi 0.25. Oh, I remember working through a clinical site that actually had a Marconi 0.25. Nobody else has that thing still working, but that particular facility that I went through, and I've got it right here on my list of actual machines that I've worked on. That's going to be really important to include in your cover letter. Also, patient care. Did you work in geriatrics? Did you work at a geriatric center? Did you actually rotate through a facility that was a rehab facility? Did you work at a surgery center? Did you work at a pain clinic? Think about all of these things. You just didn't work in a hospital. Did you work in a teaching hospital? Did you work in a military hospital? Those are very important pieces of information that you want to put for skill level. I know you think it might not be important. I worked at a hospital. Okay, yeah. Why all hospitals are the same? No, they're not. I worked at a trauma one or a non-trauma. I've never worked in a trauma center. What level trauma center did you work at? Do you know the clinical sites that you're rotating through? Is that hospital trauma level 1? two, three, like what is it? Is it not even a trauma center? You need to know that, because that's going to tell a lot about what type of experience you have to your potential employer. And it's going to rise you up above the rest. You're going to be the cream of the crop if you have all of those things in your resume. But remember, don't make it a book. Keep it concise, impactful, clean, professional. Always is a win. Okay. So now we're on to tip 2, networking strategy. Networking is a game changer, and it's often forgotten by so many people, even those of us who have been in the field for many years. We forget about networking, and it can be to your detriment. What are some things you could do now as a radiologic technology student in networking? You can join your associations statewide or citywide, whatever you have, but usually it's a statewide radiology society. You want to join them. Also, as a student, you could join the ASRT. That is a radiology organization nationally. Everything falls up under them, but you definitely want to join your local and also as a student ASRT. Go to those events that are hosted by either one or both, yearly events, quarterly events. That way you kind of meet the different people. I'll tell you a story. I was struggling to pass the MRI registry. As you guys know, that is not the easiest registry to pass. And I was struggling. There were not schools out there then. We learned on the job. And it depended on who taught you, the physics was just like rough. And there was no schools out there to teach you. And because of networking, someone was able to help me get in touch with someone who could teach me. I paid a fee. I got taught about the physics and I passed the exam. Networking is important. I've gotten jobs because of networking. I've helped others get jobs because of networking, helped others just connect to do things that they wanted to do professional wise or personal wise. Networking is very powerful. It's a game changer on many levels. You can also connect with professionals on LinkedIn. If you are a student, get a LinkedIn and you want to level up in your connections in your profession. Don't be afraid to send a quick introduction message. Just don't follow, connect. Don't be afraid to connect. If you see someone that aligns with where you want to go, what you want to do, connect and send them a message. What's the worst they could do is not connect back. You can always follow them then, but if you want to, follow and connect. But I'm always open to connections. Clinical instructors and peers can also be a great reference or recommendation for job openings. Sometimes when you're just getting into it, you know what? You need to make sure you ask your teachers for recommendations. I did that, and that got me a job. People respected my instructors in the profession. They took their word based on students. Like, my teachers knew I worked hard, and they knew I didn't get into any mess, and they gladly referred me. But I had a good reputation in school, and that helped. Employers, they go by who they trust a lot of times. Your clinical instructors have been in the field, they have connections. Use that wisely. Your peers, sometimes you guys got to give each other references. That's how it is. You've worked together, you've worked in the same field, you've worked alongside each other. Why can they not be a reference? Just my opinion. Tip number 3, is that 3 fingers? Yeah, 3. Not all jobs are created equal. So research your job opportunities thoroughly. Don't just say, oh my goodness, this job is hiring. There's a $15,000 bonus and they're offering me day shifts 7 to 3:30. Monday through Friday, no weekends. I'm going to tell you, red flag, red flag. Just look at the job itself. These are some things to think about. Research, of course, every job that comes across. Don't take the first one that's offered to you. Look in the hospitals, outpatient centers, imaging centers, look at all your options. Don't just zero in on what's comfortable for you, because you've been at this clinical site for a long time. You know everybody here. I'm going to make this my first job. That's not a bad idea, but it's not always the best idea. Even research opportunities that your clinical sites give you as a job offer right out of school. Just make sure that's the best thing for you. Look at the job descriptions. Look deeply at them, because the job descriptions could totally be different than what they are telling you you need to do. If you apply for a job and it says you need to have multiple modalities up under your belt, probably not the job for you. But what that does encourage is grow your skills. use that opportunity when you first finish radiology school and you see that you want to apply to certain jobs, but they require that you have another modality under your belt. Go ahead and jump right into something, a school, someone, a course that you can learn that new modality under. That's what I say. That's just my advice. Take it or leave it. And finally, don't forget about the importance of location, shift schedules, and benefits when deciding where to apply. I preach this all the time. It's not always about the money. Don't get caught up on, oh, they're paying $50 an hour, $40 an hour, $35 an hour, $30 an hour. They could be paying you that much and your insurance costs you half of your check. You don't get much PTO. Your schedule, you have no one to cover you. They have no PRNs. So hence they say, let's pay them a lot more because they're never going to get to take their PTO. They're never going to get off of work. I'm telling you, this is real life here. And location. If you're driving 59 miles, I'll give you a good experience. A friend of mine was doing a travel assignment and it was about 82 miles away, 82 miles, 83 miles, something like that away from their home. They were traveling. Well, the facility wanted to keep them permanently after their contract was over. And they said, sure, but you have to pay me for the mileage that I have to come. And this is the dollar amount that I want because your location is too far from me. And they said, sure. I'm not going to tell you what they paid my friend, but it was a hefty amount, very close to what they were making as a traveler. And they were an employee, so it meant they were getting benefits. Their hourly rate is amazing. And this is why I tell you, negotiate based not just on salary or experience. Don't always try to stay close to home. Don't always try to get the first shift. It can be more lucrative and you don't work as much and as hard if you negotiate the other things as well. Tip number 4, prepare for the interview like a pro. Nail your interview with these tips. Practice common questions. Like if they ask you, how do you handle challenging patients? That's definitely a question because that's an important question. That you're going to get challenging patients. And as a student, you've already had them, but use that experience to answer that question and your common sense as well. So if you didn't handle it very well as a student, don't come into your interview and say, well, I didn't handle it too well. Maybe didn't handle it as well. What would you have done differently? And maybe answer it that way. But really think about how to answer these challenging questions that you may not have an answer or your answer may not be as palatable for the listener. What do you do when scans don't go as planned? When your coworkers are not as helpful, when there's gossiping in the office? These are kind of things they're going to ask you. Think about these things and be able to give an explanation, a clear explanation of how you'd handle it or how you have handled it in the past. Also ask thoughtful questions about the role. Don't just let them ask you questions. You ask questions as well. This is an interview not only of you, but of them. You are deciding if you want to take the job, not just a one-way street. So remember, this is your time to ask, what opportunities do you have for continuing education for your employees? Do you have tuition reimbursement? Because if you went to an associate's degree program and you want to get your bachelor's, is your employer offering to pay for that? And if so, how much? When is it effective? How soon can I go back? Maybe you're taking a job at a hospital that is a medical teaching facility and has their own university. You choose to work there because maybe their pay isn't that high, but they're giving you free education. That's a win-win. But you need to know, do they reimburse you for certifications? Do they give their employees? I just interviewed someone for my podcast. They're with a hospital university system that gives $700 to their employees for continuing education. Just continuing education, $700. Oh my goodness. That is amazing. These are the things. Y'all are just not being interviewed. You are interviewing as well. Okay. So I hope that takes the case. So this is tip 5. Stay persistent and positive. Job hunting is tough. Not can be, not maybe, it is. Persistence pays off. I always say apply to multiple positions, even if they aren't your dream job. They can help you build experience. You got to start somewhere. My first job was not my dream job, but it gave me some tools that if I didn't take that job, I am scared to think where I'd be if I didn't take that job. It set me up in so many ways. It was a second shift job. it just wasn't ideal what I was looking for, but it was perfect. But apply to multiple positions. Keep learning. I will say that that's something that I encourage. I do it. I'm 22 years in. I'm still learning. Add certifications beyond. Whether you feel like you want to do those in the future, add them on. Once you get the certification, no one can ever take it from you unless you just don't pay your ART license certification renewal. Other than that, you got it. And it just adds on to your expertise. Most importantly, don't get discouraged by rejection. Every no brings you closer to the right yes. So I hope this was helpful with these 5 tips for navigating the job market as a new radiologic technologist. I really hope you guys took a lot from it. Let me know in the comments. As a wrap up, I'm going to ask the 5 ways that you navigate the job market as a new radiology technologist. Hope it was helpful, but which of these tips do you think will help you the most? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel and my videos if you found them helpful. And be sure to check out any of these other videos and our podcast, a couple of Rad Techs podcasts, bringing you weekly insights to the radiology profession. And we are not a side hustle in healthcare here in medical imaging and radiation therapy. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next video.